Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome in our Azure case study video. In this video, we will be going to talk about how Microsoft have used Azure Kubernetes Services to host the Horizon 5 game, which is a very popular game and crossed millions of connections or millions of concurrent connections on Azure. In this case study, we will be going to talk about the technical story, how they have achieved a high speed and low latency rate by using the Azure services, how they're getting or going 3 million concurrent connections in Azure Kubernetes services, how they are turbocharging a gaming architecture, how their solution design is, how they're reviving up for the big challenge, and what the next challenge they are looking for. So in this case, Microsoft gaming team or Xbox team have worked on the Azure architecture and develop the architecture in a way where they can reach 3 million concurrent connections or concurrent users playing at the same time, right? So let's quickly jump into the technical story and understand about the technical aspects. So when the Horizon 5 saw more than 10 million concurrent players, the biggest first week in the Xbox uh, studio history, driver drive across vibrant virtual landscapes and face off in thrilling tournaments and challenging, right? So when this game was launched, it's seen more than 10 million concurrent players playing across the globe in a single week, right? So there was a multiple tournaments was happening, challenges were happening, right? So Horizon 5 is also a stunning win behind the scene, using the Azure platform as a services, provide a virtual crew and a Windows-based container architecture adapted the changing demand at rap speed. The game developer rely on the auto-scaling AKS services cluster to meet the most challenging performance demands, while fully managed Azure services free the team for time to consume infrastructure management task. When the game developer learn about the AKS apply to retail, finance, streaming, and the other workloads that need a grand prix performance to manage the concurrency with low latency and the big spikes in demand. So as we know, right? So the AKS have the auto scaling automations, and it is completely orchestration service, right? So Kubernetes is that kind of thing. So that's where a gaming developer have relayed and learn about those things. Like if AKS can apply uh, auto scaling orchestration across the retail, finance, or streaming, or multiple other workload that required a more concurrent connection, why we can't use it? And that's where they have utilizes the Azure Kubernetes services. So developed by Turn 10 Studio and Playground, and published by Xbox Studios. The Horizon series has grown in the popularity with each new title as the series have exploited into the size, so too has the infrastructure needed to support it. At least the Windows-based development team hosted the game on-premise, buying and borrowing the servers as needed, right? So like the most in the gaming industry, Horizon code is based on completely built in the Windows. According to the Turn 10 program manager, they want to deliver more agility and speed to scale for millions of players while abstracting the lower layer of the VM management. But their preferred solution need to be supported the Windows based image, right? So earlier, when they were hosting or then we are releasing this Horizon series, they were used to be on the on-premise. That's where they are buying and borrowing the new services as needed. But when they have started exploring the Azure or starting exploring the cloud services, they want their layer to be fully automated. They want to be a more agile, more agility, where they can simply do the scaling automation whenever required. At the same time, they want to abstract the lower layer of the VM management, right? But at the same time, they want to make sure the solution which they are using is basically supported for the Windows based image. And the answer come from the team is the Kubernetes, the popular container orchestration service, right? And that's where the team have used it. The team learn into the curve. Within a month, they have converted their services into the AKS and had everything running into it. AKS allows them to launch much faster during the testing and mission critical step in preparing for the big launch day. Before moving to the AKS, it could not take a Project Tech developer half an hour to swipe up old image on their VMs and prepare them for the load. But in the AKS, this process took just seconds, and the extra speed enabled team to instantly make repair, overcome roadblocks, and scale as needed. In addition to that, the team can script cluster update ahead of the time, adding the flexibility, agility to demand the stress test. While at the launch, the stress test proved that Horizon Tech Services could easily scale for up to 600K to 3 million concurrent connections. The team was more than a little happy. They were thrilled, and every reasonable estimate for player and concurrent users were broken. So they have used AKS. They have used at the same time they were able to make it agile. They were make it. They are able to use the scripts ahead of the time. They are able to add the flexibility, agility to demand the stress test which they have required, and through which they are able to reach it to the 3 million concurrent user while doing the stress test of their application. So with the Horizon 5 architecture includes 7 core services that run on the AKS. Among them, the leaderboard service tell users where their rank is, while the user generated content, which is also known as a UGC service, support the ability for players to upload the images and the other content. The auction house service enables player to sell the car to each other, and the analytics services collect the games and player telemetry used into the report. To simplify the migration to the Windows container, Frozen Tech created a playbook based on the experience of moving to the UGC services. After about 2 weeks of testing, team applied the playbook to other services. The front door of the all client request aggregated is the aggregated server service or a single autoscaling development that run on the multiple ports into the AKS. All port interact with the same Kubernetes services in secret. The aggregator service interact with the other Microsoft services running into the container. Their similar architecture made the playbook easy to follow. They are instrumented with the Kubernetes liveness and readiness health prop, so team can quickly identify an issue and make the change, such as adjusting the scaling. For business continuity, 2 instances of each services run on just 4 VMs. Before moving to the AKS, Frozen Tech run a minimum 40 VM at all time, moving them most of them running very cold, and the configuration reduce the cost of their environment by the 90%. So they have multiple microservices, around 17 microservices running into the AKS for Horizon 5. So they were having a multiple services. They were having the leaderboard service. They were having the user generated content services. They were having the auction house. Uh, they were having the other services which allow users to upload the photos and the other content, right? So all of those services has been moved into the AKS, which is a Windows based. There was a Windows based container was created, and they were applied the same playbook to the migrated the services, which allow them to do the migration easily, because at the end of the day, all the services are basically using the same AKS configuration to run on it, right? So this is how the solution look like. So at the back end, you can see there was a multiple microservices. There was a leaderboard, there were UGC, there were a was a driver, there was an auction house, there was a notification as a microservices which has been hosted onto the AKS. But at the same time, you can see there was a Redis cache for the sessions, and there was a Azure storage for there to store the information. And at the same time, you will see you have an application, Azure load balancer with a public IP, which is working as an aggregator, which is hosted on the Kubernetes, and attach it with it. And all the requests basically from the Xbox user is coming on the Azure load balancer public IP. So that's how basically the solution and design is working. So they to ensure that the new container based architecture could handle the anticipated load, the Frozen Tech built a stress test harness on the Azure and set a goal to exceed the launch volume seen when the previous version of the game was debuted, right? However, Origin 5 outpaced the launch with 5 times number of the players. Fortunately, team worked with the partner at Azure Play Hub, a service for building and operating the gaming on a live platform with a dedicated global and the multiplayers. After assessing the game needed, the team scaled the infrastructure down and saving almost 100k dollars following the month. And that is basically it. It was simply simple and tuning a dial one way to scale up for the launch and expecting holiday uses, and then turning the dial into the other way to scale down to reduce the cost. That's how they are basically doing it and saving the cost for their infrastructure. So the numbers spark for them. The Horizon launch was successful successful as mentioned by or as tweeted by Microsoft Chief Executive Officer Satya Nadella, and nothing the accessibility feature and metrics rate the game 92 out of 100. Not bad for a team new to the container Windows container and the Kubernetes services. And it's completely easy for it was easy for them to migrate to get on the AKS and stay on the Windows. Now they have the scalability and reliability of Azure and AKS without the time invest of changing the code base which they required. That means more than time for their 1010 studio to thrill players with stunning the new racing experience, right? So at the end of the day, when their game was launched, it was successfully launched. It was able to achieve 3 million concurrent connections after that, and then they were able to get almost 92 out of 100 as a rating for their gaming feature, right? And it was completely a very easy for them, because at the end of the day they are using the AKS to run as a container, but their container is running as a Windows container, which is basically easy for them. And now they are more focused towards building the gaming experience better rather than focusing on the infrastructure side. Well, that's it in this case study. I hope you like this case study. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming case studies, and feel free to reach us if you have any questions. Thank you.